Hey everyone, so this is now video number 7 in our tutorial. So what we're going to do in this one now is actually start assembling the report that we want to make from the tutorial. So the first thing we're going to do is, so if you're on the report view, what I just want you to know is that there's two areas you want to know, or two things you want to know. So these little vertical bars here can be pulled back a bit. So if you want to see more space on your canvas here, so and then expand them again like this. So let's have a look quick at the fields tab. So these are the available fields of data that we have brought in from our import of data. So as you can see, this is it here. This is just what's available to us. It's just showing that these are the columns we have. So we can create visualizations, and we can put certain columns into the visualizations, or we can put all of them in, or just certain ones in there. So this is where you can kind of get a little creative. So the first thing I want to do is just show you how to add something. It's just a table. This is just, let's bring in a table so we have sort of a mirror of the data that exists. So in the visualizations, I want you to go over to the little icon here. These are all very small icons, so you can hover over them to see what they do. And so we're going to add a table. And oops, I clicked on slicer. That's okay. I've got it selected. So I just want you to see that I've got slicer selected. With it still selected, click on table, and it'll turn it into a table. So so now this is just sort of a blank table. We're going to start filling in with data, and we can move it around the screen anywhere we want it to go. So yeah, let's just put it right here, and we're just going to make it nice and wide so we can put all our data into it. So it's blank. So what we're going to do is let's tell it what columns we want in there. So first off, you got to make sure that you have it selected. So first I want to show the difference between selected and unselected. So right now the table is not selected. It's just kind of sitting there. But if you click anywhere that's blank inside of it, you'll see a border go around it. And these little handles here can be pulled to kind of resize it. And you can go anywhere you want. There's options here at the top. If you click the three little dots, you can make it full screen. You can do some filtering. We won't do any of that yet, but just so you know, so if you want to keep it selected, just make sure that the border is highlighted. And if you want to deselect it, click anywhere outside of it that is blank. So let's select it again. And let's add our columns of data to the table. So we're going to add, so normally if we brought in that giant SQL file that had all the columns in it from our query, we'd have a giant list of all the columns. But there was very few of them we actually needed for this report. So that's why we only chose the 6. Otherwise, we would be kind of pruning through here, looking for the ones we wanted, and it could become really complicated. So that's always good to make sure that when you're pulling some data in, make sure it's sort of pruned down a bit to just the data you want. Otherwise, you're just going to be hunting around for columns. So let's, I'm just going to widen this a bit so we can see the full column names. So we're going to add everything that we brought, and we're just going to keep the order as is. So let's bring in our accounting period date. And as you can see, it brings it over to here. Let's bring in our currency code. Let's bring in our source create user, our voucher numbers, our remarks, and our type code. So, so this is just kind of how it's being brought in, the way that Power BI thinks we want to see it. So Power BI is doing something kind of strange that we didn't ask it to do. There is a sort of advanced feature that hopefully one day you'll have time to learn it, but it is the date hierarchy. So with dates, you can work with them in many ways, but we don't really want to play with the date hierarchy. It's really cool, but we don't need it for this example. So so all the columns that we have here that are in our visualization are brought over onto here. So if we look at the accounting period one, as you can see, we've got like year, quarter, month, day. We don't really want to see all that broken up like this. So what we're going to do is you see this little drop down here. This is just giving us some more information about the accounting period that we brought in, so or the data. So right now it has a check mark on date hierarchy, And we don't want that. So let's click on accounting period date. So this is just going to display it as we brought it in from the data table. So just click on that. And it just changes it immediately. And as you can see, the date hierarchy, all the extra information is gone. It's still sort of in a format we don't really want. So we would probably rather see something more that it looks like in Qbyte and whatnot. So let's have a look at that right now. We're going to change the format of this date. So we go over to our data tab, and we look for our accounting period date, and let's highlight the column. And so what it's saying is the data type is date, which is good. We want dates. But this is the format here, and it's just like in Excel. You can change the format of the way it's displayed. So if you drop down here, you can see you've got all these different options there. So I'm going to go for this one here, just because this is sort of something that looks familiar to what it looks like in Qbyte or other reports. So this is what I'm going to choose. And it just takes a second, and it has now gone through everything in that column, and it's made it into that format that we like a little better. So that is good. So now we can go back to our report, and as you can see, it also has made the change here in the dates here. So that's good. It looks a little better for us, but it's totally up to you how you want to do that. So the next thing I want to show you is how do we change the order of the columns that we have here. So let's highlight our table again. And let's say we don't want currency code right next to it. Let's say we want to swap it with this currency code and source create user. We just like the look of it better. All you have to do that is go over here to visualizations, and you grab the currency code little button here and just pull it down under source create user, and there we go. And they have now swapped places. So if you want to reorder anything, feel free to do so. And lastly, let's have a look at something, because something's actually going on with the voucher number here that is not quite evident from just looking at it, but it is actually happening. So if you notice here, there's a little sum icon here under voucher number in the fields. So what that means is that voucher numbers are actually being summed. So as you see, we don't need to sum voucher numbers. So we're going to take that out. So click on the voucher number button here and drop it down. And as you can see, it's telling it to sum, and we don't need to do that. So what we're just going to say, don't summarize. And it has removed the sum, and it's now we've got a lot more data to work with, because there was some summing going on behind the scenes. So all the other data that it doesn't have any icons in it, so it's just brought it over as is. So that's what we want. So that is how you create a table and populate with data and move a few things around and change some of the formats. So just a reminder that the date hierarchy seems to be what Power BI thinks you want. It also thinks you want to sum some things, but yeah, sometimes you don't. So it's pretty easy to change that by dropping down here. So let's move on to the next video, and we'll add a text box up here as a title.